Ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not,
I am wearing my old barbed wire necklace from the very early days of Hagen, and for the last like 6 or 7 years it's been on top of a phrenology bust.
Like a crown of thorns.
Yeah. I decided I needed something to break up.
This pseudoscience died for your sins. I don't even remember
We
that.
stopped watching that about 45 minutes in.
That's probably why.
And I never finished watching it. We were originally watching that possibly for Backseat Creek. We stopped watching it and refused to do a vlog. This is true. Hell's Kitty, it's a real movie.
I don't even remember any details about it.
It was just really annoying. I gotta say, that's pretty intelligent for a group whose normal level of cunning is to use their own skull as a battering ram. Okay. You know, that happens in both this film and in the original Reanimator film by Stuart Gordon. Just saying. It's a recurring thing. This film killed Herbert West. Symbolism! Okay, I'm not doing that again. That was embarrassing. Holy fuck, it's deep thought! Holy fuck, it's deep thought! Now...
Why are you saying it like Long Island wise? It's deep thought.
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 Sorry. Holy fuck, it's deep thought!
T-H-O-T.
I know, but that's how I pronounce thought. No. This is why people think I'm American. Okay, for anyone who's only seen the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, this looks nothing like deep thought. For those of you who are lucky enough to have seen the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy TV version from the 80s, this looks like deep thought. In a bad way. I really hope I don't need to go into the racism. I saw a really interesting, this is for you Flubs as well, interesting article. It was about why Lovecraft has a lot of fans who are POC. And I didn't realize that he did have a big fan base of people who are POC, but the article was all about this and explaining why this is.
Why?
You know, or maybe not. Maybe it wasn't just POC. It was people that Lovecraft would have despised, and why he hated them. You know, minorities of all stripes. Mm-hmm. And the general gist of the article was absolutely fascinating. Is I would not have thought of this, that through Lovecraft's insane, bigoted paranoia, he actually put himself accurately into the mindset of someone who is actually in a minority in a world that hates them.
Yeah, the whole point is that human beings think that we're all that, but, you know, the Lovecraft protagonist, you know, has to grapple with the idea that we're just insignificant little bug creatures in the face of a large, mostly unknown, mostly hostile universe and multiverse, I guess.
So the article came to the conclusion that people who are in hated minorities that are disliked by society will have more of an affinity for Lovecraft's writing in a very weird way because they have a more intrinsic understanding of what that feels like. Stalker the Not Minion, take a memo. It's a Reanimator film. I said I wanted violence, not violins.
Got that. Fuck the string section. Great.
Just like the main Reanimator film series since 2003. Fun fact for everyone, Flubs and Omega. That was my intention there, was to impersonate Johnny from Airplane. You know, the ridiculous camp guy, when he was saying, like, you know, your husband's alive but unconscious to the captain's wife, and then, you know, he's like, just like Gerald Ford. That guy, he was the only cast member who was allowed to ad-lib.
You know, every Lovecraft story ends with, you know, the lightning struck and then for a split second I beheld the thing that was chasing me and, you know, my mind was full of such unconceived horror that I woke up 6 months later in a ditch missing 2 fingers off my right hand. And that's like every Lovecraft story. And it's just like, the idea of whatever it is so horrifying, and I'm sure back in the day that must have been terrible, but like that doesn't really hold up right now, because, like, you know,
I'm going to paraphrase a book on the Evil Dead films, saying that we have crossed too many rivers of blood and climbed too many mountains of dead bodies to be as shocked as our forebears were by this thing.
Yeah, like even like when he describes what he finds under Whately's coat in the Dunwich Horror, like all the extra appendages, like that were being covered up, and I'm sure people like read that and like maybe felt ill or swooned or whatever back in the 20s. But I'm just like, that's not that creepy.
Yeah.
I've seen worse in a gore video. What the fuck is an Armus and why'd you beep it out?
It was Armus from Star Trek Next Generation, who killed Tasha Yar.
Oh, okay. On page 12, Hagen, bullet time so cheap he couldn't afford to dodge.
Bullet time so cheap he couldn't afford to dodge. But what if I believe in a thing called love?
Just listen to them in my heart! I missed out a few words there.
I'm pretty sure they do too when they sing it.
So, there's only 2 Metallica songs that I like, and it's really cringy, but it's because I was an angsty teen, and it was Unforgiven 2. Which is one of the worst
I don't
Metallica
even know that one.
It was the sequel to their other song, The Unforgiven.
Okay.
There's a third one. I don't remember if it's called Unforgiven 3. And the memory...
I don't like... I preferred Slayer and Megadeth. On the subject of Metallica, from the Black Album, I will stand for One and One Only, because One is based on Johnny Got His Gun, which is a fantastic film. The singer from The Darkness, Justin Hawkins, later on played Screaming Lord Sutch, who I ranted about in the Perv Parlor review, in a movie about a musician, very, very interesting musician guy, Joe Meek. And Screaming Lord Sutch, one of the original shock rockers, like 1960s shock rock. Him and Screaming Jay Hawkins were the original two. Screaming Jay Hawkins was the original shock rocker. I mean, he was this black guy who had a voodoo gimmick, and he did the original "I Put a Spell on You."
Oh, okay.
And then Screaming Lord Sutch saw him and was like, I'm going to add screaming to my name and I'm going to be just as eccentric. His gimmick was basically proto Alice Cooper, because he had long black hair, and his gimmick was he was Jack the Ripper. Like, he would wear a cape and a top hat, and he sang about being Jack the Ripper and killing people in the 60s.
Right.
So, mid-60s Alice Cooper action, but he played him in that film. A little bit of music history there.
They're long enough that I could just read them like, okay. And they were like... Done. I'm great.
Omega's impersonation...
Time saver.
Omega's impersonation of Begotten is astounding, and I wish the camera had been on him.
It's just like...
That could have been a Begotten in 5 seconds. This film killed Herbert West. Symbolism! Ow, my back is sore. I'm not doing that again.
You keep saying I'm not going to do that, and then you keep doing it.
Yes, because it's part of the line. It's an ad-lib.
I thought you were... No, I thought you were actually injuring yourself.
No, all that was all ad-libs.
No.
Have you seen Lovecraft's book about his cat?
Mm-mm.
He wrote like an ode about how much he loves cats. He also wrote apparently a parody of romantic fiction that was designed for young women.
That's fantastic.
I think it's called Sweet Ermintrude. It was just a parody of the Twilight of its day.
That's fantastic.
It's like when you discover Edgar Allan Poe wrote a poem about how he thinks the cosmos worked, and in some of it actually maps with theoretical physics for today. That's called Eureka, a prose poem. He thought that was his best work. These guys, they wrote some weird stuff that isn't really talked about.
It's kind of interesting.
That is real, by the way. It came ridiculously close to production before it got cancelled.
More cancel culture. This is your fault, SJWs.
It was Warner Brothers, so WB. WBs! I can relate. Okay.
You wouldn't be Jeffrey Combs.
I can relate. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, everyone's dead, and or alive, and or miscellaneous. Okay.
I really changed that Bon Jovi song, and I wanted dead and or alive.
My, there's a lot of phlegm in the afterlife. It wasn't there the last time I visited.
No, see, it's because of COVID, though.
Oh, you gotta ad-lib that.
Alright.
My, there's a lot of phlegm in the afterlife. It wasn't there the last time I visited.
Oh, no, that's just because of the COVID, though.
Oh, fair enough.